So we're talking about the oneness and threeness of God. Are you confused yet? As mentioned earlier, the historic Greek mind would be, and that's because of the Platonic influence of Greek thought that has been overlaid on top of the scriptures, especially in the subsequent centuries following the received tradition of the apostolic scriptures themselves. We're talking about the patristic period, the early church fathers that later on went on to try and formulate creeds and logical deduction when it comes to explaining the nature of God. And how is it that Jesus can have a dual nature? How is he fully God? How is he fully man? How does this fit together? So that's what I mean by the historic Greek mind would be a little challenged at the very notion of one God with three persons and things like that. But the Hebrew mind lives with these tensions as foundational biblical truths. It simply sees it as an opportunity to worship God as mysterious and yet still not completely metaphysical. God is not completely transcendent. He's not unreachable is what I mean by those phrases, metaphysical and transcendent. He can be experienced by our mind, which was created by God, right? We are commanded to love God with all our heart, soul, with all our mind, right? If we read the Greek version. And yet some skeptics will always twist and distort the truth into something it was not meant to be. This is what I call the skeptical view, the analytical philosophical view, the Unitarian position that says that God is a numerical one being and he cannot be recognized as in tri-personal parts or anything like that. I even imagine someone may eventually make this very article say something that I did not intend for it to say, right? That's the nature of confusion, is that people take something that someone says, that person A says, and person B comes along and twists their words and rearranges them and misunderstands them and says that it's confusing and that's ambiguous and things like that. But with language failing to fully describe the unknowable Eyn-Sof, right? This phrase Eyn-Sof is a Hebrew term that talks about without borders. God in many ways is transcends our language. That's what I mean by ineffable. It's unable to express. That's what the phrase ineffable means, the dictionary definition of it. In one sense, we cannot explain God with our own language because God's very nature is beyond the nature of our own language to express his nature. And yet he gives us language in the Bible that allows us to relate to him. So in closing, I say I shall have to rely on this best approximation for now, meaning this is just the way I interact with the Bible. One day, this glass that I see through dimly shall be made clear. And of course, you would agree with me on that as well. Amen? Amen. Let's close in prayer.